Good afternoon. Welcome to the December edition in our Supply Chain Management webinar series. A few housekeeping things before we get started. If you have a question during the webinar, click the Raise Your Hand button on your screen there, and if I see it, I will try to answer your question during the webinar. If not, at the end of the webinar, I will stay on the line as long as needed to answer any and all questions. In addition, if you'd like to see this webinar or any of our previous webinars, you can go to our website webinar page. There are links to YouTube videos of each of our webinars. So let's get started. Today, we're going to do a case study of one of my current clients, looking at things we're doing there to improve the performance, delivery performance in a job shop environment. So, my client is Ytech Industries. They're in Rahway, New Jersey, and they make wire and tubing components for the medical device industry. They basically take wire, straighten it, cut it to length, do various treatments to the ends of the wires, the surfaces of the wires. They have 8 different work centers that do these operations. And like every other company in business, they are trying to hit 100% on-time delivery of customer orders. That's what our customers expect nowadays. It is an ongoing journey. Needless to say, no company meets 100% on-time delivery all the time. But with Ytech, we are on a journey. We've been on this journey for a few years now, and we have been recently, this year, building some more infrastructure to help the people that are in production, help the people that manage production, to meet the delivery dates for not only the customer order, but all those intermediate steps that go along with manufacturing a product. So what we're going to talk about today are a concept that we have just recently implemented, automatically completing router steps at each work center. Then we're going to look at how we're using that process to give us the information we need for a custom load profile report for each work center and a custom dispatch list to help the lead people at each work center have more information, have a better awareness of where each individual job stands in their work center so that they can focus on meeting the delivery date for the next downstream work center. And doing that will also be helping to get our on-time delivery up where we want it and where our customers want it at 100%. So let's look at completion of router steps. There is a recent article in Quality Digest magazine. It's titled "The Future of Manufacturing." The premise of the article: automating and integrating data collection on the manufacturing floor will be essential to staying competitive as a manufacturing operation. Interesting article. I'd suggest you look it up at your leisure. What we're trying to do at Ytech is we're trying to allow the production people that are actually making the product, straightening the wire, cutting it, doing end processes, grinding, coating removal, forming. We want them focused on making the product. We want to keep the reporting of it as minimal as possible, because the longer they spend reporting what they've done, the less time they can spend actually making the product. At Ytech, in this job shop environment, we have some little things that make it complex. For example, in some of the work centers, you can have multiple individuals working on the same job at the same time at different areas in the work center. They're all doing the same process and reporting their production independent of each other. The problem that we were having here is that in order for any one of those individuals to be able to close out the router step when we made the quantity we were supposed to, they would have to manually keep track of what everyone else was doing. And that was a labor-intensive, error-prone way of doing things. And we never implemented it because of that. But what we needed was an understanding of where every job was in every work center, how much work had been done, and how much was left to be completed before that job was due out of that work center and sent to the next downstream work center. One of the advantages that we have at YTech is that our computer system that we use, our ERP system that we use to manage and control everything, is a homegrown system. Now, there are two types of ERP systems. There's homegrown and there's canned ERP systems. Each of them have their strengths and weaknesses. This is not recommending one or the other, but the reality of the situation is at YTech we have a homegrown system. We also have a very smart programmer who is really creative when we come to him asking him to do different things like completing router steps automatically. The graphic that we have up here now is a pretty good example of what we wanted them to do. We wanted the computer in the middle between the people on the production floor and what they had to do to report router step completion. We wanted the computer to be able to do that. And we have successfully created a methodology for the computer to keep track of everything being produced for a particular router step. And when it gets to the quantity that they're supposed to produce, it literally completes out the router step, says, hey, it's done at this work center. It will allow for a plus or minus tolerance because this is a make-to-order environment where we do run some overage sometimes. But the people on the production floor can focus on making the product and let the computer keep track of when a particular router step should be closed out. So that's how we use the computer to automatically complete out router steps. Now, that provided us the information that we needed to do the next two items on the agenda today, because we needed to understand and have the computer know when individual router steps were completed so that we could then create a custom load profile report. We've been using Load Profile Report at YTech for a few years now. It was one of the things that we implemented during a previous project. And when we implemented it, we took the classic textbook approach for a load profile. This is the same stuff that we teach in the Apex body of knowledge as far as load profile reports. It only looks at things that are planned to be at the work center. It totally ignores jobs that are already there. It is future oriented, and when it has a job that's scheduled to start in a work center in a time period, if that job is supposed to run at that work center for 4 weeks, the standard load profile report takes that 4 weeks worth of load and dumps it all into 1 week, the week that it starts production in that work center. The big spike in load on January 6, 2014 is an example of what a classic load profile report does. We used this for a year or so, and it was not meeting all the requirements that we had. So that was part of the motivation behind this project we've been working on for the past half a year, and that is to get this load profile report to give us a better look of what was happening at each individual work center. What we have come up with is a custom load profile report. This one is custom, and again, if we didn't have a strong programming presence at YTech, I don't think we'd be able to do this, because this one combines jobs that are actually at the work center right now and jobs that are planned to be at the work center at some point in the future. So the blue are the jobs that are there right now. The red are the jobs that are planned to be there at some point in the future. Excuse me. In addition to that, what we have done is, instead of dumping all the demand in the first period when it shows up at the work center, we have developed a process to look at, and I'll go back to that January 6, 2014 week. The load from that planned order that was dumped all into that one week, but it is actually scheduled to be worked on over the course of 4 weeks. We have now, with this custom load profile report, taken that load and spread it equally amongst the 4 weeks that it is supposed to be at that work center. We've done that with every one of the planned orders coming in, so there are no big lumps of demand which are arbitrarily put there because of all the load showing up in the first week of a project. We also, since we had automatic completion of router steps, we were able to do that for load that is currently at the work center, to be able to look at what is remaining of that original load when that job hit the work center, calculate how long it will be until that job is supposed to move to the next work center, and then distribute the load over the remaining period of time. In addition, the third thing that we've done on this custom load profile report, you see the very first column, it is named past due. Well, if it's a blue job, that means the job is at the work center, it's still running at the work center, but it was supposed to be out of the work center sometime prior to today's date. So it is giving us a real good heads up of the things we've got to focus on that are past due that could potentially impact our on-time delivery performance with our customers. The red area there are planned orders that were supposed to start at this work center at a date prior to today, but the job hasn't even arrived at the work center yet. So again, we may not be late for the job at that point delivering to the customer, but this gives us a real quick heads up look that says we got to go find out what's holding that job up from getting here, because if it keeps going like this, we're going to be late on our production for our work center, and that'll snowball through to delivery to our customer. So the custom load profile report is a tool for production management to look at where their loads are. And for example, the week of January 6th is still problematic because we've got a capacity of about 230 hours in this work center, and we've got a load somewhere around 270 hours. But we know about it beforehand, and it helps us to look at, can we reschedule some of this stuff? Do we need to work a little bit of overtime? Do we need to put another machine on this particular job in that week to boost up our production of that particular job? It gives us information that we can use to make decisions before the crisis happens. Okay, so we've looked at automatic completion of router steps. That was a basic building block that we needed to supply a fair part of the information we needed for that custom load profile report. Now, the last thing on the list, custom dispatch list. On this dispatch list, and I'll share with you where we're at in this project. While at YTech tomorrow, we have a meeting tomorrow morning with all the work center leads and the production planners and management to go over this dispatch report to get their final inputs on how it looks, what it's presenting. So we're trying to get this thing ready for a rollout the first Monday in January, which is only a few weeks away. But what we have been able to do with the automatic router step completion, we can now, on the dispatch list for a particular job, show how many pieces they were supposed to be running at that particular work center, how many pieces they have produced, and what the balance is. We also give them information about when they were supposed to start producing it, when it was supposed to be done at their work center, and also, because this is a job shop environment and it's really important to focus on when we need to ship it to the customer, we're also putting on there the date the entire order is supposed to ship to the customer. Now, looking a little closer at this, some of the things that we were able to do. We're going to be putting on critical ratio. And at the bottom of the screen here, it shows you the calculation for critical ratio. The days until the operation end date divided by the days of work remaining. So if you've only got a day until the job is supposed to be done, and you've got 2 days worth of work, the critical ratio will be a number less than 1, in this case 0.5. Critical ratio is a simple formula. 1 or greater, you're on time or ahead of schedule. Anything less than 1, you've got more work to do than time to get it done in. We're color coding this so that the production lead people can see just at a glance the jobs that they have to focus on. They don't have to go and look on a report to say, oh, is that 0.8 or is that some other number? We've also looked at where we're delinquent on getting it out of our work center. For example, the first order, we highlight the operations end date to show, in addition to the critical ratio being less than 1, we're also late delivering it to the next work center. Now, the other thing that we've done on customizing this dispatch list, we need to be able to give the work center leads a heads up for jobs that they're supposed to be working on that haven't gotten to the work center yet. And this, again, we're trying to give the work center leads and the production management people a visual cue where they don't have to look at every item on a dispatch list. And I will tell you, this dispatch list is a very short version of what happens at a lot of work centers. There are some work centers right now at YTech where these dispatch lists are 2 pages long, single space, portrait mode. So there's a lot of jobs in individual work centers. What this particular at work center column does, if it's green, it means the job's at the work center. If it's yellow, it means the job isn't at the work center yet. It's due here sometime within the next, and I arbitrarily here put in 48 hours, but our meeting tomorrow, our education session tomorrow, we're going to fine-tune that. And a red in this block means that job we're supposed to be working on now, but it hasn't shown up at the work center. So that's how we're using automatic completion of router steps to enable us to go to what I like to call version 2.0 of our dispatch list, our daily dispatch list. So what we've looked at here over the past 20 minutes in a job shop environment where we're trying to improve our delivery performance to our customers, setting some data capturing tools that allow us to get the information we need, then creating a custom load profile report to give us an accurate representation of where we are in every work center, load versus actual capacity. And finally, giving the lead people in each work center a tool that they can use on a daily basis to help them to meet on-time delivery of jobs in their work center so that as a whole, all the work centers are working to the schedule and we're all trying to get the job to the customer when we promise to. Okay. So that's it for our case study of Wytech Industries and how we're laying some groundwork for improving their on-time delivery performance. If you have any questions, raise your hands. I'll be glad to spend as much time as need be answering them. If not, this is the final presentation in our 2013 Supply Chain Management webinar series. Check your email. First week in January, we'll be coming out with our new schedule for our 2014 webinar series. And we hope you all have a happy holiday and a safe holiday, and we'll see you all in 2014.